Okay, he can just hang like he's on a noose. I love Halloween. It's the best holiday, and my favorite genre of Halloween media is not so much scary horror movie Halloween, but more like classic spooky Halloween ambiance, like Halloween for children. Cats are like on brand for Halloween, right? So naturally, I love a good children's Halloween movie, and nobody cranks them out quite like Disney Channel. Disney Channel has been in the TV movie biz since 1997, and my childhood definitely included a lot of Disney Channel original movies, or DCOMs. I remember I was so excited for the premiere of the movie Camp Rock that the night it came out, I left my family at the dinner table to go eat in the living room so that I could watch it. And I was so infatuated with everything about that movie that I got a Barbie of the main character, Mitchie. I got a do-it-yourself, like, Camp Rock journal. And at the time, I wanted to be a Disney Channel-style singer-songwriter, pop star. I even copied Mitchie's songbook that was called Mitchie's Songs. I made a little yellow book that said Jane's Songs. DCOMs were really formative for my childhood development, and I think that that's true for a lot of people in my generation. So, to get into the spirit of the season this year, I decided to watch every single Halloween-themed Disney Channel original movie and rank them for you. It was a tough job, but somebody had to do it. I usually script these videos, but since I'm covering so many films, I wanted to try and do it more informally, so this time I have physical notes, like a true academic. I'll be ranking these from worst to best. Let's do this. In absolute last place, at number 14, we have Return to Halloweentown. Return to Halloweentown is the fourth and final installment in the Halloweentown franchise. It follows our protagonist Marnie as she decides to attend which university in Halloweentown against her mother's wishes. She and her brother Dylan arrive at the university and quickly find themselves tangled up in another mysterious adventure, blah blah blah. This movie sucks. Probably the biggest problem with the film, and kind of the elephant in the room with this one, is that they recast our main character, Marnie. That's right, they replaced our beloved Kimberly J. Brown with Sarah Paxton in this one. And at first I was like, okay, so Kimberly J. Brown must have had a conflict, or maybe she didn't want to come back for this one. But no, she was fully willing to do another Halloweentown film, and they just recast her against her will. And they didn't recast any of the other roles, which makes it extra awkward and disrespectful. And there's really no reason I can think of for them to have done it, except maybe that they wanted Marnie to be, like, more hot. Not that Kimberly J. Brown isn't, like, a perfectly good-looking woman, just it kind of seems like the only reason they would have cast Sarah Paxton is that, I don't know, they wanted somebody, like, more skinny and model-looking. Which is pretty messed up if that's the case. Not only does the recasting make Marnie less likable, but I think the writing deteriorated so much that she genuinely is just not as good a character as she is in the other films. One of the things that's so great about Marnie in the other films is that she is really what drives the story along. She makes decisions and does things that make the plot happen. But in this movie, it's more like the plot just happens to her. Things happen to her. She doesn't really have to do anything, which just makes for a much less interesting character and a much less interesting story. This film abandons all subtlety. And yeah, I know that the first three films are about a magical alternate dimension that is all Halloween themed, but they had nuance and subtlety in the character stuff and the relationships. In terms of lack of subtlety, one of the things that bothered me the most about this movie was that we have these three super mean girls, totally plucked straight out of High School Musical, but worse, because High School Musical is good, mean girl trio, and they are just these cartoonish mean girl stereotypes.
It means no magic allowed.
In the dorms? In the university? What? Didn't you read the handbook?
And what's annoying about this, besides the lack of subtlety in the characters, is that in the previous films, what made Marnie better than the villains was that She was a good person, she was very creative, and she had all this love for her family and friends. She had this great support system, and she had a great sense of like right and wrong, and she wanted to be a good person and help people. In this movie, it seems like Marnie is better than the mean girls because she's more talented and prettier and cooler and more boys like her, and she's the chosen one. That's another problem with the movie, is they make a chosen one narrative about Marnie, which just doesn't seem like it was ever the intention of Marnie's character. Marnie isn't a great witch because she's like the most powerful witch ever. She's a good witch because she's really creative with how she uses her powers. She's good at problem solving. So in previous films, when Marnie was in trouble and she overcame it, it would be because she was creative and she came up with a great way to solve the problem through her own intelligence. Whereas in this one, it's like, okay, she's special because she is the chosen one, and that's it. I'm gonna talk about this more in the next movie I talk about, but it just ruins a protagonist to have them be really good at stuff and be, like, the chosen one. It's not likable. The story is much less interesting than the first 3 Halloweentown movies. I really couldn't tell you much about the plot. I don't really remember the plot. The humor and the dialogue in this one are so much worse. It's just painful. Lucas Grabeel, also known as Ryan from High School Musical, is back in this film. He's in the 3rd film as well. And they dragged this poor boy into some horrible, horrible dialogue.
Healthy appetite. I like that in a girl.
If I have to hear that stupid line in one more piece of children/teen media, I'm gonna kill somebody. This is the worst Halloweentown film by far. As far as I'm concerned, this one doesn't exist. The Halloweentown franchise is a trilogy. That's it. Next, at lucky number 13, we have Girl vs. Monster. Girl vs. Monster tells the story of Skylar, a high schooler who seems to fear nothing. On Halloween night, she finds out that she comes from a long line of monster hunters and that she must defeat a group of monsters who feed on fear. Okay, so similarly to Return to Halloweentown, the biggest problem with Girl vs. Monster is that its main character is so unlikable. Mostly because she's too perfect. She is very conventionally attractive. She's literally fearless for the first part of the film. She's a great singer, an accomplished gymnast, and the hot, coolest guy in school likes her. To be fair, the fearlessness thing is a part of the plot. She starts out fearless, and then when she realizes her family are monster hunters, it turns out that something happened to her when she was a child that, like, took all her fear away, and then at a certain point in the movie, it all comes back to her, and she has to, like, overcome her fear from there. But that doesn't really work. An overcoming your fear story is perfectly fine Disney Channel movie material, you know, that works. But you can't really have the character start out fearless, become fearful because of, like, an external force, and then have to overcome her fear. Like, it just doesn't really work as well as a typical start out fearful and then have to overcome your fear story. When a character is good at everything and liked by everyone, the audience isn't really going to be able to relate to that. This really reads like somebody's self-insert teen wish fulfillment Wattpad story. It's not good writing. One other thing about this movie is I think the design of the villain is really bad. The villains in this movie are supposed to be these monsters who are literally made out of fear. Did you see that?
Literally made out of fear.
The villains in this movie are supposed to be literally made out of fear, so they're like literal nightmares. They're supposed to be fear incarnate. So tell me, why did they make the main antagonist of the movie, who's supposed to be literally fear itself, look like she's wearing a rip-off Hocus Pocus costume from Spirit Halloween? I think it would have been wise to go with the Don't Look Under the Bed style thing, where they did like a really scary character design. Maybe they were afraid parents would send angry letters or something. I don't know. It doesn't work. Number 12, we have the Scream Team. The Scream Team is about 2 kids in a house with their dad, and their grandpa died, and there are ghosts, and one of the ghosts is played by Eric Idle. I really couldn't tell you anything about the Scream Team. I just completely zoned out while watching this movie. It did not succeed in capturing my attention at all. So sorry if this is your favorite childhood Halloween movie, but I barely remember anything about it. Number 11, Twitches 2. Twitches 2, the sequel to Twitches, continues the story of Alex and Cameron, twin witches who were separated at birth. In this installment, the twins have to face their evil uncle from the first movie and save their thought-to-be-dead father. Twitches 2 isn't bad. It's not quite as engaging or interesting as Twitches 1. They recast this one character. In these films, there are these two characters. They're like the guardians of the twins. They're from the magical realm where the twins are from. They're like witches, wizards, whatever. And they have a pretty fun dynamic. You know, you have this woman who's like really dumb. She's really stupid. And I kind of love that in a character.
So sweet. I wonder if we should have mentioned they're marked for death.
Why would we tell them that?
And they recast this character. She was played by a different actress in the first film. And it's not a huge deal, but I think I just preferred the actress from the first one better. She brought a lot more, like, authentic, dumb bitch energy. Now, on a different topic, some of you may know that I have been rewatching all of Degrassi: The Next Generation. I'm on season 9 right now. And I was watching Twitches 2, and at some point I see this character, and I'm like, I feel like I kind of recognize that guy. Is that GRIFFIN from Degrassi? Yes, this is an actor from Degrassi. I forget his name. He played a character named Griffin, who was not on the show for very long. He played like Marco and Paige and Ellie's roommate at the end of season 7 or something. So I'm like, okay, that's kind of fun, Degrassi actor in one of these movies. And then I'm watching the rest of the movie, and I see this dad of the twins, and I'm like, that guy looks familiar. Is that the SHEP? Is that the, like, misogynistic, incompetent principal of Degrassi for, like, one season?
You're a terrible principal.
And you're a little bitch.
It was! So at this point I'm like, okay, these must have been made in Canada. And I was right. What do you know? They were both filmed in Toronto. That was just fun for me. Like, 2 Degrassi actors in one of these movies. Very fun. Number 10, we have Under Wraps. Under Wraps is about 3 young friends who find a reanimated mummy in the basement of a spooky old house. They befriend him and realize they have to get him back to his sarcophagus by midnight on Halloween. Under Wraps was actually the first Disney Channel original movie ever, I'm pretty sure. And it's quite endearing. It's fun. There's lots of silly, like, fish out of water humor in relation to him being a mummy. There will be long sequences with absolutely no dialogue, just of the mummy doing human things. Like, there's a whole long sequence where he goes through the Dairy Queen drive-thru.
Okay, sorry. A jumbo orange soda.
Or there's a part where he goes to the hospital and all the doctors mistake him for a burn victim. There's also a lot of surprising, like, kind of adult humor in this movie. There's a weird running joke where the kids go to a museum to find out more about the mummy, and they find out that in ancient Egypt he was a high priest, which means he was celibate. And, like, they're kids and they don't really know what that means, and they're, like, explaining it to each other.
What's celibacy? No chicks.
And then throughout the movie they keep making jokes about celibacy?
Maybe he wasn't so celibate after all.
No, ma'am. He's celibate.
Well, I don't think so.
Which was pretty weird, but also kind of genuinely funny. It's like a little racier than what you would expect to see on Disney Channel today. Maybe like back when they were first doing these movies, they didn't really have a sense for how adult they were going to be. Oh my god, also, the mummy is played by the guy who voices Patrick on SpongeBob. I've said this before on this channel, but I did not watch SpongeBob as a child, but I know what Patrick sounds like, you know? So that's kind of fun. It's a fun concept. It's very silly, but it just wasn't the most engaging, entertaining movie. Like, there are kind of long stretches where it gets a little dull. But overall, fine movie. Number 9, Phantom of the Megaplex. Phantom of the Megaplex follows a teenager and his co-workers at a Megaplex theater thought to be haunted by the Phantom of the Megaplex. On a night when the theater is hosting a big Hollywood premiere, strange things start to occur, and it's up to our teenage workaholic protagonist and his 2 younger siblings to solve the mystery. This is a weird one. I initially thought it would be a modern adaptation of Phantom of the Opera, right? But it's kind of not. There are a few references to the silent film version of Phantom of the Opera, but that's about it. Most of the film is just about a teenager working a part-time job and like being really good at his part-time job and being really obsessed with his job. And then occasionally some weird stuff happens, and Mickey Rooney is also in it, and there's like a big inflatable dinosaur. That's all I can really remember. It's fine, you know, it's fairly entertaining, but there's not much of a Halloween vibe. I'm not sure it even takes place on Halloween. Number 8, Tower of Terror. Tower of Terror is the story of a hack tabloid journalist and his niece who investigate a supposedly haunted hotel for a potential supernatural story. They soon begin to realize that the legends about the location may hold more truth than fiction. Upon researching this movie a little more, I'm not sure this is actually a Disney Channel original movie. I think this may have been technically like a TV movie that premiered on Disney Channel or ABC or something, but I'm counting it as a Disney Channel original movie, whatever. This movie gets big points for having Kirsten Dunst in it. That is always fun. And this one has a fun setting, lots of old-timey ghosts and kind of spooky elevator imagery, which is kind of creepy. It's alright. Solid Halloween Disney movie. Number 7, Twitches. Twitches is the story of Alex and Cameron, twin witches separated at birth. On their 21st birthday, they learn of their background and of their duty to stop a terrifying threat to their homeworld. Twitches is pretty good. This is one of the ones on here that I actually remember watching as a child. The Maori twins are really charismatic and fun to watch. They make these characters very likable. Like I said earlier, I just love this, like, dumb girl guardian of the twins. She's great. Now, remember how we saw 2 DEGRASSI actors in Twitches too? Well, at the very beginning of Twitches, I was like, wait a minute, I recognize that kid.
Dude, sorry, trick or treat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that Toby from DEGRASSI? It was Jake Goldsby, aka Toby from DEGRASSI, so another fun DEGRASSI cast member in this movie. It's a solid movie. Again, it's not super like Halloween vibes, but it works as a movie. Number 6, Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire. Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire follows 2 kids who want the house to themselves one night, so they get their mom a date, not knowing that it is with a vampire. Obviously something that stands out about this one is the title. It reminds me of, there's this one SNL sketch that's like making fun of Disney Channel, and it's a fake commercial for a Disney Channel show called like, Mom's a Japanese water ghost.
Now, Mom's a Mulguishin, a Korean water ghost!
Oh, nuts! Mom's a ghost!
And I feel like this movie is probably one of the direct inspirations for that sketch. So obviously this movie has a ridiculous premise. There are quite a few jokes where they like adapt classic vampire traits for the modern setting, which I think are pretty funny.
Perhaps some garlic bread to start.
No, thank you.
Honestly, the most exciting part of this movie is the cast. The main character, this young boy, has a best friend, and I was like, I recognize that kid. Is that Craig from DEGRASSI? It was Jake Epstein, aka Craig Manning. He was probably like 12 years old when he was in this.
I figured this would be a step toward better playground relations.
Jake Epstein is like one of my favorite DEGRASSI actors, so that was very exciting for me. And then I was like, I recognize that vampire hunter. Is that the dad from Lizzie McGuire? And yes, it was Robert Carradine, who, in my Google search to find out that it was Robert Carradine, I found out that he is the son of John Carradine and the half-brother of David Carradine, which, I mean, maybe I could have expected from the last name Carradine, but that's interesting, right? And there's a part of the movie where Robert Carradine, like, says the grasshopper thing to the kid, which I think is technically a reference from Kung Fu, starring David Carradine. So I don't know, that's cute, if that was the intention. Number 5, Invisible Sister. In Invisible Sister, Cleo, a shy, introverted high schooler, accidentally turns her popular older sister invisible as the result of a failed science experiment. At school the next day, Cleo has to assume her sister's identity while trying to find a cure for her invisibility. Invisible Sister snuck up on me, so to speak. This was one that I was actually not looking forward to watching. It didn't sound very, like, Halloween themed to me, so I thought it would be kind of boring. It was actually very entertaining and well-paced. This is another more recent Disney Channel original movie, like Girl vs. Monster, but the characters in this are just so much more likable and well-written. What I loved about kind of the commentary in this movie is that, especially compared to a movie like Return to Halloweentown, where we have these stupid mean girls who are just cartoon characters, in this movie we have the main character, Cleo, who's the shy introvert. She feels figuratively invisible, and then she has her older sister, Molly, who's popular and beautiful and an athlete, and Cleo kind of resents Molly, and Molly kind of resents Cleo. And then we're seeing it through Cleo's perspective, like a very classic underdog, nerd in high school kind of story. But as the story progresses, we start to see that actually Cleo is kind of the one who has made all these assumptions and judgments about her older sister, and that maybe her older sister's interests are actually fun and cool and meaningful instead of like vapid and stupid. And like both characters learn about each other and develop as people, it's great. It also has a fair amount of Halloween vibes. It takes place on Halloween. You get lots of fun costumes. I love the older sister's, like, himbo boyfriend. I mentioned how much I love the stupid character in Twitches. I love this guy, too. I love a good, like, good-natured, stupid man in a movie. Or woman.
I'm the cowardly bear.
It's a lion.
What's a lion?
Yeah, like I said, I was not looking forward to this one, but it was actually really entertaining. Number 4, Halloweentown 2, Kalabar's Revenge. Halloweentown 2 sees the Halloweentown gang return to the town on Halloween night, but something is amiss. Marnie and her grandmother have to stop the evil Kalabar's son from turning all Halloweentown residents into dull caricatures of humans, and all humans into frightening caricatures of Halloweentown monsters. This one lives up to the first Halloweentown movie. It's entertaining, has great Halloween ambiance just like the first one. Something I like about these movies is that the stakes are high, and you can feel that. This movie also has great betrayals and twists and status quo changes. Something I really like about the first 3 Halloweentown movies is that they actually pay attention to the character development in each movie. So, like, the status quo doesn't just reset after every movie. They really make an effort to incorporate whatever changes happened in the last movie. This one I don't think is quite as good as the first and third. I don't think it's quite as entertaining, but it's still up there as a Disney Channel original Halloween movie. Number 3, Halloweentown High. In Halloweentown High, Marnie decides to organize a student exchange program bringing disguised Halloweentown teens to her mortal high school. Unfortunately, an ancient group hell-bent on destroying all magical beings threatens these students. I loved this one. It takes the premise of Halloweentown and puts it into a high school setting, which is genius. I mean, you can take like any premise or concept and put it in a high school or put it with high school characters, and 8-year-olds watching Disney Channel will eat it up. Also, just in general, putting the Halloweentown locals into a normal high school is so funny. This movie also has a star-studded cast. The love interest is played by none other than Finn Wittrock, which apparently it was like his first movie. He's pretty good in this. I really liked the love interest in this one. This movie also introduces Lucas Grabeel into the Halloweentown universe, aka Ryan from High School Musical. It also has Kelsey from High School Musical as this pink troll who, fun fact, my sister was this pink troll for Halloween when she was little, except she didn't really dress up at all except for putting blush all over her face. Like I said about Halloweentown 2, it's nice that the character development and events from the previous films really stick. It's really good. It's really entertaining from start to finish. Number 2, Don't Look Under the Bed. In Don't Look Under the Bed, Frances, a precocious teen's neighborhood is turned upside down by bizarre pranks, and everyone thinks she's the one responsible. But her new imaginary friend tells her that the true culprit is the boogeyman. This one is known for being the scariest Disney Channel original movie ever. Apparently they got all these angry calls from parents saying, like, my child was terrified from this movie. And once you see the actual design of the boogeyman, that is understandable. As like a horror movie, I don't think it's that scary. I think it's mostly the design of this guy that's scary. And I get it. Like, this thing looks like it could have been out of a real adult horror movie. But this movie actually has a great, emotional center and great character development. First of all, the conflict that Frances faces is, I think, really relatable and stressful for children, like the thing of knowing that you didn't do something, but having nobody believe you. And some of the emotional conflict is really intense, like Frances had a little brother who had had leukemia, and she has to own up to the fact that she was really afraid at that time, and understand that she kind of was forced to grow up too fast. The message is really nice, the production value is great, it really feels different from most of the movies on this list. There's just something about this one. Number 1, our winner, we have the original Halloweentown. Yeah, you probably saw this coming. Halloweentown is the story of Marnie Piper and her siblings who have never been allowed to celebrate Halloween. Their eccentric grandmother finally reveals the reason. They're a family of witches from a Halloween-themed alternate dimension. There's a reason that this is the most iconic Disney Channel original Halloween movie. The Halloween ambiance? Impeccable. One of the best parts about this movie is the world building. As soon as we're in Halloweentown, we're seeing all these really fun characters and locations and items. And like I've already talked about, Marnie is a great character. She's so relatable and realistic as a kid. She'll have these, bratty moments where she's mean to her mom, but you get it. You understand why she's frustrated, and she makes amends. It's really great. Debbie Reynolds is so great in all of these movies, but especially in this one. She has just, the best grandma energy. She's probably one of the top 3 on-screen grandmas of all time. Something that I love about this movie is that it kind of disconnects scariness from Halloween. Instead of being about the spookiness of Halloween, it kind of takes all of the traits and elements and classic characters from modern Halloween celebrations and makes them their own thing. It's almost like Halloween as a religion. It's a true classic. It's amazing. I love it. You'll love it. Watch it. So I hope you now have a better idea of which Halloween Disney Channel original movies to watch this year and which ones to throw in the trash. Return to Halloweentown, I'm looking at you. I hate you so much. These are really fun Halloween movies, not only for children, but for the Halloween-loving child in all of us. I hope you have a great Halloween. Don't go to any parties, though. I would recommend just staying in, watching some Disney Channel movies, eating some Kit Kats, I don't know, drink some blood.
Perhaps some garlic bread to start.
Thank you.
I don't know. Anyways, I gotta go turn my sister invisible.
Literally made out of fear.